recording. Hi guys, this is my sketchbook. This is the brand that I usually buy. I don't know if there's a reason behind it because it's not the best paper out there, but it's just the paper that I started buying when I was like 10 years old. So I just kept on buying them and I have a stack of them, and this is the latest one that I have. I also got one for Christmas. Let me see what. This is another one that I got. It is new, I haven't opened it, but it's for mixed media. And the paper is way thicker than this one. But I found that this one is good, but this one is good enough for inks and stuff, like it doesn't go through. So that's basically all I need for now. So yeah, and this is the size that I always buy, which is A4, okay? So let's get started. I always leave a blank page in front, because I don't know, it just makes it cleaner. And this is, these are all my, my Inktober images. So this was a mountain that we used to visit, and it's atop that mountain. It was also like in the middle of a desert, but my grandparents managed to kind of populate it with lots of trees, and I remember it being a really dry land in the middle of nowhere. There's like this tree filled with oranges for some reason. My mom always hangs a hammock up on the trees. So yeah, that reminds me of her a lot. There's also this way that we used to walk to go down into the river. That's the path that we followed. This is a fruit that's called a pomegranate, but in Spanish it's the same word for a grenade, so that always kind of struck me as something a bit violent. It's like the royal grenade. That's what the direct translation from Spanish would be. Some images from the desert. There was this old house where they used to keep the tamo, so it was called the tamera, and it was up on the mountain, and it was just a wall covering a cave basically. So when you would enter, the walls would be just like the bare mountain, and that was so interesting for me. There was the house of the guys that would take care of the house when we weren't there, and they were really lovely people, and I used to share lots of moments with them, and I don't know much about their lives anymore though, but I always remember those scenes like with a lot of love. This is a lamp that was inside the house, and the cool thing is it was a very dark house at night, because in the morning or at daylight it was just filled with light, but at night it doesn't matter if you opened your eyes or you closed your eyes, it would be exactly the same, like pitch dark, and it was so cool for me. I really enjoyed that. There were these fruits that were like on spiky stuff, like on spiky plants. I don't remember the name right now, but they were really cool. And lots of birds would always perch on them, and I found it very interesting how they didn't get pricked. There are lots of clay sculptures. That's kind of the thing in Villa Leiva, or in Boyacá generally, which is the zone where my farm used to be. There were also wasps that we had to smoke mostly, and it was kind of frightening but exciting as well. Yeah, this is a tree in the corner of the place where there was a lot of grass, and it was a weeping willow, and one of its branches kind of broke and fell down, but it was still alive, so it kept on growing, and it kept on growing in the wrong direction. We had a lot of love for it. This was the way in, which was a very dusty road downwards, so it was kind of scary as well when I was little. This is a memory of the table. In the mornings, what would wake you up would be the smell of pancakes, or the smell of fried eggs and bacon and ham and cheese, and we would also have my grandfather's tinto, which is like really strong coffee, orange juice, and all of these smells and all of these sounds would start growing inside your head. So when I opened the door finally, I would see this, which is like the sun coming through the window and shining on the table, which always had a mantle cloth that was filled with colors. So it's a very strong memory, like it's something that's stuck on my mind forever. There were these clay pots that they called mojos, and it's a place to receive water, like rainwater, and it's used for washing, and it used to be used for lots of things, but now they're mostly like decorative. And I remember that the water would flow so much that it was clean water, like it's never green. and there were lots of little frogs inside and tadpoles, and we used to play with them a lot. These are some sculptures. I think my aunt Anna made them. They were really cool because they were fish, but they were also like dead fish for some reason. Like they were empty, and you could see the bones, but it was also always so beautiful to me. Like I always got entranced with them and how they moved with a slight air that moved through the house, because they were not in the exterior, they were interior sculptures. So I don't know, they always look so beautiful to me. This is the mojo. This is the same mojo, but from the side. They were always in the exterior, and they used to cover the eaves. So the eaves would direct the water towards the mojo, and when it rained, the sound that it made, it was just so beautiful. And it was always like cool inside. This is, funnily enough, this is this same space that you could see, like in this direction. It was a small hall between the living room and the TV room, and it was a place with lots of light. I remember we used to set up a door that we used to put like into caballos, we call them, but it's like, I don't know, like a table structure that was just like a makeshift table, and it was literally a door. Like it had a knob and everything, but we just didn't use it. And we used to set that up, and my dad would start using watercolors, and he would paint with us like for hours, and it was great. It was so cool. And I remember seeing his empty chair, but his brushes set and everything just ready to keep on painting. It was really cool. My grandfather used to love the oranges that grew on the farm, and the cool thing is there were 2 trees, and one of them grew in front, but the oranges that grew in the tree of the front were really bitter, that like acid. But there was another tree that grew in the back, in a secret garden. And the oranges that grew in that tree were so freaking sweet. They were really, really sweet. So what he would do, he would just grab one from one tree, grab one from the other. He would cut them, and then he would give them to us. They were a mix of both orange trees, so the taste was really good and the smell was so nice. And he would always cut them like on top of a wooden table that would be placed outside. I remember that a lot as well. And I remember looking at it really close because I was the height of the table back then. So I remember looking at the orange and seeing all its fibers and the knife. So I just remember this so vividly. And the river. I remember the river. It was a really cold river, but my dad always used to make us laugh, so we didn't feel that the river was as cold as it actually was. It was a river that, I don't know, in my imagination, rivers were always like transparent, like the water had nothing in it, but I slowly learned that this was actually a river, and, and that rivers carry stuff, and that they are usually muddy, and they also carry leaves, and the bottom is not like clean, but it's like mud and rocks. So it became so much more alive when I realized that what I had been playing all my life in was actually a river. It was surprising for me. And this is as far as I got in Inktober. I didn't actually finish it, but I want to finish it. This is how my sketchbook usually works. Like I carry it everywhere. There's a restaurant called Walk. They give these papers so you can put your like plate on them, so the table doesn't get dirty. And I always turn them around and I start drawing. So that's what I usually do. And I always carry some extra papers for some freaking reason. Oh, these are some pictures that my dad took. So this is a picture that he took on his trip to the United States, I think about 7 months ago? I don't know, I'm really bad with dates. But yeah, he walked through an alley, and in the end of the alley it said art. So he thought about me, so he took a picture, printed it, and gave it to me. He also gave us this pictures, which is me and my wife, Daniela, before we got married. This was taken in 2016. 3 years ago now. It was the first time that we went into the páramo. In English you translate páramo to moors, but they're not moors exactly. Like it's a different biome. It's very unique. So we went there and we fell in love with it, and one of our ceremonies was actually there, like in this exact spot. So very emotional picture. And I think this one is the same one, but in color. Yeah, that's it. That's my dad taking pictures all the time. Here are some sketches that I did with a friend of mine. He's called Felix, and he's a concept artist as well. But we went sketching and we tried sketching with each other's hand, so I wouldn't move my hand, but he would grab it and he would try to draw, and I did the same thing. So he drew this like kind of a reptile thingy with a lantern, I guess, and I drew Kirby with some ears, apparently. We have a friend whose last name is Cole. He's a great concept artist here, but Felix kind of pronounced it wrong, so it sounded like cowball. So I drew this. What else? This is like a giraffe that's also a hunter. Like that was kind of the challenge that Felix. And these are sketches from people that we went to draw with. They were really quick. They were like a minute long. And there was also a zombie that likes to go to the movies, I guess. There you go. That's about it. All these stickers Felix gave them to me from a trip that he went to Osaka. And that's it. That's my sketchbook. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you want more videos like this. I really enjoy them, so let me know. Cheers.